I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. And what about the other gunshot? Could the second missing bullet from the murder weapon be stuck down there in one of the wooden crates? If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects Legrand far too much to disobey his orders. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret alcohol problem. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. He won't let me talk. He respects if I want. I hope I don't find myself needing a life jacket. No, Jacob. Business before... Why were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There may be something else in the vase, but the neck is too narrow to reach in with my hand. Could work. There's something in there. Ah. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize. I'm
not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person. Quite the opposite. The Baroness's message hints at the fact that she knew the murderer and that he'd killed before.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Ah, well, it makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him, since he's too young to be the Raven. Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it. Dr. Gebhardt locked the door, and until I had something tells me that he wouldn't be amused. A model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt. It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins, and the saloon were added later. A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less dreary. A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially since a plant won't survive long without daylight. There are little stones in the flower pot. Not only does the poor plant have to make do without sunlight, it doesn't have any soil either. Really? What am I supposed to do with stones? Although, sooner or later... Dr. Gebhardt closed the curtains from inside, which was the right thing to do. Who'd want to be greeted by a corpse on the way to breakfast? Dr. Gebhardt locked the door, and until I have good reason, I won't wake him up. Something tells me that he would.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce, drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Mr. Kreutzer clearly feels uneasy. But does Legrand actually think he's the Raven? Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it. Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr.
Constable Zelle. Do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe, but I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes. My boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not working.
Captain DeConti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose. I believe I've got everything I can out of him. There's nothing more he can tell me at the moment. I believe I've got everything. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. It's not fair. There's a magnificent buffet, but I don't have an appetite. Maybe a side effect of the tranquilizer. It's not fair. There's a Excellent. That's just what I needed. The death of his mistress doesn't really bother Inch. He's only worried about his own future. The death of his... The gangway is hard to miss. Why did the murderer So, why didn't they take... Matt is keeping himself busy with that strange game. He seems to be okay again, but I think he'd be running around all over the place if he'd really come to terms with what happened on the train. Hello there, partner.
Hi.
Are you all right?
Uh-huh.
Have you recovered from our adventure?
Mr. Zellner, what's going on?
What do you mean?
Everybody's acting so strange, and there's tape across that door. I saw that in a movie once.
You don't have to be worried.
Is it about the man from the train?
It might be about the thief, yes.
Haven't you caught him yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I heard you and your mom used to argue a lot.
We did. Everything was bad. The house, school, the other kids. We didn't have much money, and I was always alone.
You do know that your mother would love to have been with you, don't you? She had to go out to work to earn money.
She wouldn't have had to, if Dad were still around.
And how do you get along with her now?
I'm always happy when we do something together on vacation. She has more time for me now, and I like my boarding school. I have lots of friends, and the teachers aren't so bad.
Your mother and Professor Lucien seem to be on very good terms with each other. Don't you like him?
Don't know.
He seems to be very nice.
I guess.
Lady Westmacott is all by herself in the saloon. Maybe you'd like to visit her later.
Sure, the lady tells exciting stories.
I know. She's my favorite writer.
She told me that it's not much fun to write detective novels. She'd rather write something else, but her fans always want the same thing.
They made her rich and famous.
I told her to write what she wants to write. If it's good, someone will buy it. And if not, at least she had fun writing it. Then she smiled and nodded. She said it was a good idea.
What are you playing there?
I'm playing shuffleboard. At least I'm trying to.
Never played it before.
It's easy. Professor Lucien explained it to me.
And who won?
We didn't play.
You didn't want to play with him, did you? Do you want to play a game with me?
Sure.
Then let's get started.
Oh, yeah. What are we playing for?
I thought we'd just play for fun.
That's boring. We have to bet something. Otherwise, it isn't fun.
You English people.
So I'll bet my brand new slingshot. And you?
I don't want to gamble.
How about ice cream in Cairo?
Okay. If I win, I get the slingshot. If I lose, I get an ice cream in Cairo.
Hey! Never try to cheat Matt Miller. So, what do you say? Ice cream versus slingshot?
All right. Let the games begin. That's it.
Oh, man.
The athlete wins the day.
One more time.
No, that's enough for me.
All right. Here,
Are you sure?
gambling debts are debts of honor.
I'll give it back to you when I don't need it anymore, okay?
Okay, but make sure my mom doesn't catch you with it. She thinks it's dangerous.
Hello, Matt.
Hi there.
I think you'll have to explain the rules to me first.
Okay, you play with the blue pucks and I play with the red ones. You have to push the pucks with this stick into the zone over
Sounds easy.
6. Now here comes the kicker. First it's your turn.
Miss Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standard. Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh,
That wretch!
Who do you mean by that wretch?
That stowaway! That new raven!
The young man can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
One last question, Professor. The safe in Legrand's cabin can only be opened with 3 keys. Am I right?
That's correct. We sent the first to Monsieur Mokhtar of the Egyptian Museum via air freight. I have one, and the inspector has the other.
But it was originally planned that someone else should carry the 3rd key, right?
You are well informed, Constable. Baroness von Trebitz should have had it. But then there were... concerns. And for that reason, Inspector Legrand took it himself.
Was that his idea?
Well, yes, you could say that. I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
oh, of course. See you later.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it. How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a scream?
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And then?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well?
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
You and Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right. For the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour. You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a U.S. base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family, and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night, and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well, too.
You are very lucky that the lady offered the position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
Lady Westmacott dropped a hint on the train that she killed her hero, Partout. What did she mean by that?
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished Partout novel. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, Partout will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons.
Everything is a potential poison, Constable. It depends on the dose.
Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that, for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, a sore throat, or a rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?
What do you want?
Inspector Legrand is questioning the first of the passengers in the saloon.
And?
It will be hours before he gets to the stowaway.
And?
We'll save time if I question him.
We'd also save time if you stopped asking me the same things over and over again. I will not let you in. What time is it, by the way?
Got an appointment?
No, but I'm hungry.
Go and get yourself something. I'll mind the door in the meantime.
Aha. You could bring me something, though.
Go and get your food yourself. I have better things to do.
Oh, yeah? Like unmasking a murderer? I'm sure you're up to it. Judging by your age and rank, you must have solved loads of spectacular cases in the past.
No. I was sidelined and spent my days sitting on my behind. Does that sound familiar to you? The grate shouldn't be so easy to open. Did the stowaway open it and we caught him in the act? No. The pipe is too narrow. He wouldn't fit in there. I guess the cover has been defective for a while. I could inform the captain that the grid has to be repaired, but if I start reporting all the problems on the ship, I'd have to shelve my murder investigation. Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is ship-shape with this boat. Small, even stones. Probably easier to handle on a ship than... A good slingshot. Drawing on the expert knowledge of generations of boarding schools, and combined with the stones, there are countless opportunities for making mischief. He could be more cooperative, but in the end, he's just doing his job. No reason to shoot a stone at his head. Miss Mayers doesn't really seem to be much help in my investigations. She's probably too busy thinking about her fiancé. Mr. Kreutzer clearly feels uneasy. But does Legrand actually think he's the Raven? Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
Did Miss Miller cope with all the excitement?
I think so. But what happened on the train was quite a shock for her. She wouldn't be able to go on if something happened to Matthew.
She's worried about him.
He's all she has. It breaks her heart that he lives at a boarding school and can't always be with her. But she sets her wishes and needs aside so that he can get a good education. That's her way.
Where is Matthew's father?
Gone. Run off. Ran away from his problems again. He drank a lot. More and more after each setback. It's better for both of them this way.
He left her.
She couldn't have borne it. She loved him and wanted to stick by him. She fell out with her family over him. They couldn't understand her. And when he left her, the ground opened up beneath her feet. For 2 weeks, she was as good as dead. If she didn't have Matthew, she'd be dead.
You seem to know a lot about it. I mean, about the time before Miss Miller began working for you.
I have my reasons.
And Matthew, do you care as deeply about the children of your other employees?
If you fail with your own child, you hope to do better with others, Constable.
And the idea to send Matt to a boarding school
was mine. Matthew idolized his father and blamed his mother for the fact that he wasn't around anymore. I was afraid the situation would escalate if he had to live on a country estate alone with his mother and some old people. I think I was right. He quickly made friends at boarding school. He's popular, well-liked, a real athlete according to his teachers, and his relationship with his mother has improved as well. He's headed in the right direction.
Miss Miller told me that you have a valuable manuscript with you.
That is correct.
An unpublished Part 2 novel. The manuscript must be worth a fortune.
Oh, it's not just any Part 2 novel. I wrote it 20 years ago, but it will only be published after my death. It's Part 2's last case. Maurice Partout dies.
You're going to kill him off?
I already have. And I enjoyed it.
Madam.
I was so sick of writing one Part 2 novel after another. I was keen to stick a knife in his guts. And so, 20 years ago, I did. Of course, I didn't want to disappoint my fans, so I let him solve case after case. But at least I was certain that he'd never escape me, that in the end, I would get him.
I understand. Let's just hope that this novel remains unpublished for many more years. I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. I believe I've got everything I... Whatever Constable Oliver wants, he's getting ham and eggs. Just a pinch of salt for our friendly constable. Good. Constable Oliver.
Huh?
Ham and eggs, piping hot.
Oh, I shouldn't really.
I don't see anyone here who'd rebuke you. It was a hard night.
Yeah, true. Oh, delicious. Just enough salt. Oh, that was good of you. Cheers.
You don't expect me to wash your dirty dishes as well, do you?
Oh, of course not, Your Majesty. Oh, that was a proper meal and no mistake.
Constable Oliver is drinking the water he brought along. Without it, he'd get very thirsty. All right.
Ow! 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 Ah! Hey, Zola, what in blazes was that?
What?
Something hit me!
You mean someone shot at you?
Yes, well, no, I don't know. Didn't you notice anything?
I was riveted by the fantastic view. We Swiss aren't used to seeing the horizon like this.
And my bottle's broken too. Oh, I don't believe this. Could you bring me something to drink? Those ham and eggs were pretty salty.
I'm sorry. I have to proceed with my investigations. Goodbye. Let's see how long he can resist his thirst. Not long at all. Nervous? I would be too in your position. Who are you?
My name is Adil. And you are?
Constable Zellner. Why did you sneak onto the ship, Adil?
I wanted to go back home.
You're Egyptian?
There's no work for me in Italy. I want to see my family again.
And since you don't have money, you stowed away.
So what if I did?
So, it was you who knocked me out.
Me? Never.
No? Where were you when I was attacked?
Well, I couldn't take anything with me on this trip, so I snuck into the kitchen and took some canned goods.
Interesting. And how do you know when I was attacked?
Well, I thought it was yesterday, shortly before we set sail.
I take this bump personally. What were you searching for on deck last night?
I was hiding the whole evening. I wanted to go out and get some fresh air, see the stars. But then suddenly, they were looking for me.
Were you in one of the cabins?
No!
Did you see anyone on the deck or on the roof?
No.
And after we arrested you?
The English policeman put me in this cell. Then he left. I've been here ever since.
And you didn't notice anything along the way?
No, nothing.
What about the gunshot? Didn't you hear it?
Yes. The English policeman had already arrested me. We heard a bang and looked around.
And then?
Then, the Bobby was in a hurry to get rid of me. He almost pushed me down the stairs and locked me in here. He left, and then a short time later, the alarm went off.
Constable Oliver wasn't with you anymore when the alarm went off?
No. I was scared that the ship would sink with me sitting here like a rat in a trap.
It's hard for me to believe a single word of your story.
Because I'm a foreigner?
Because you seem to have learned our language in the space of a day. Accent-free.
Believe what you want.
Who paid you to distract us?
What?
You went for a walk around the deck and let yourself be seen. Everyone goes off hunting you, and in the meantime, your partner shoots the Baroness in peace.
No, I didn't do anything. I didn't want to distract anyone. I just want to go home.
You're a liar, and a bad one at that.
But sir, I'm telling the truth.
And I'm the Raven. Inspector Legrand will deal with you. He's lying like a cheap rug. But he probably doesn't know anything about the murder. Very disappointing. So I have to keep searching. What interests me most is the shot that was fired here in the cargo hold last night. Whoever fired the shot hit the crate. Did the shooter just want to intimidate me? Or maybe he needed the bullet? Can't see anything. If the bullet is still stuck in the wood, it's too deep to reach with my fingers. No, the bullet hole is too small for the tongs. The cargo hold also seems to serve as a changing room for the crew, at least for the ones who don't wear white uniforms. A stroke of luck. The lock is open. Oil-stained overalls. And here, an old toolbox. It's been through a lot. Hardly any paint, dented, and the lid is held shut by a wire. I'll take it with me. Some wrenches, a bit of wire wool, an oily cloth, and here, a screwdriver. Can't see, and if the bullet is... Well, I think the bullet is still in the wood. I'm not a weapons specialist, but at first sight I'd say that this bullet looks exactly the same as the one Dr. Gebhardt gave me for Legrand. That would mean that the murderer also fired a shot here in the cargo hold before the murder. But why? Did they just want to make sure the old gun still worked? Or was it something else? And did the bullet really come from the same gun? I can only check that in Legrand's cabin. I've got this... The young man is lying... Somebody put the trunk back on the shelf. I can't tell whether it was our young friend or someone else. I could take one of the saws with me as a souvenir. On the other hand, it'd remind me of my bump and of my rather inelegant escape. It must be uncomfortable traveling like that, even if you're as young and slim as our guest in the cell over there.
Takes the biscuit.
I noticed that the door was unguarded. I just wanted to make sure that everything was all right.
Tell it to Legrand. He's expressly forbidden anyone to speak to the witness before he does.
All right, let's go to Legrand and tell him what happened. You fell asleep, and then you left the door unguarded. Well, are we going?
No, but don't try it again.
Of course not. The lock isn't especially secure. I should be able to open it with the wire from the cargo hold. I'm out of practice. The lock isn't a spec. There we go. neatly folded and unused. Legrand hasn't slept since we cast off, nor on the train. A Lockmaster and Son. Tough to crack. If I wanted to steal the eye, I'd concentrate on getting the 3 keys. Legrand must have taken and developed the photos himself. He even made copies and enlargements. He seems to be prepared for everything, with access to more resources than a normal detective. If everything goes according to plan, the first time this monster is opened will be in the museum in Cairo. Fingers crossed. A microscope. Looks like the one that Lutz Reichinger uses in his pharmacy, just more modern. There's nothing on the slide, and therefore nothing to see. There's nothing written on the bottle. I suppose it's some sort of stimulant, legal or not. Legrand has been awake for at least 30 hours straight, maybe more. I shudder to think what kind of side effects this stuff might have. A policeman on a murder investigation should have his wits about him. The risk that he could miss evidence or endanger himself and others is too high. Legrand's file on the Raven, centimeters thick but totally useless. We're not dealing with the Raven. Why can't he see that? Our man is ruthless, a bomber, and quite probably a murderer. This file belongs in a museum. It's history. The inspector should concentrate on the present. This is the pipe from the cargo hold. Legrand seems to have inspected it for fingerprints. I can still make out the powder. No. Nothing to see on the end of the pipe that the attacker held. Either he wore gloves or he cleaned the pipe. Aha! That's the bullet the doctor removed from the Baroness's corpse. A masterpiece. Forensic teams use kits like these, placing increasing importance on the preservation of evidence. But not in Switzerland yet. It's a small lab used to conduct simple analysis on site. All right, what have we got here? Half of the tools in this box will be interesting for an archaeologist as well. Actually, forensics and archaeology are really quite similar to each other. The goal is to find out what happened, whether a few hours ago or a few centuries ago. I'm sure Legrand could work magic in this alchemist lab. Me, I'm just awestruck. A small glass bowl for mixing chemicals. A small glass... What's this? Oh, how practical. A hermetically sealed cotton swab for collecting samples. I'll take it. Good Lord. For forensics in the woods or the open country, I suppose. No use on a ship. Fingerprints are overrated. Smart thieves wear gloves, or they make sure that there are too many fingerprints at the crime scene to check them all. Good Lord. A small Aha! This is some kind of inventory list. For each chemical, it lists the chemical composition and a short comment on how to use it. And here's a list of the most important procedures. Fingerprints, Gunshot residue? Blood? I don't have to analyze the pillow and feathers to determine whether there's gunshot residue. I can smell it. And I don't have any other clues at the moment. The booklet will be useful once I have something to analyze. Another alarm. It was tripped at some point, but there's no way to determine when. Smells like chemicals. Legrand probably developed the photos in here. There are still fragments of the syringe that the inspector broke in the sink. Why is he pushing himself like this? Even if he catches the Raven, is it worth ruining his career and his health? I don't care what Legrand and Dr. Gebhardt say. The blood spot looks strange. I always wanted to do that. That should be enough. I don't think I can analyze this. Good Lord, which of the... Wasn't there something about blood samples? Fingerprints? Well, it explains how to confirm that something is blood. That's a start. You have to mix luminol and a hydrogen peroxide solution and then drip or spray the mixture on the blood. The solution turns blue and glows even if there's just a very small amount of blood. Okay then, luminol and hydrogen peroxide. Aha! Luminol. And there's the hydrogen peroxide. I'll mix it with the luminol in the bowl. Okay. I can detect blood with this mixture. The clear solution turns blue if it comes into contact with blood. So, let's see what we have here. No blood. Not the slightest reaction. If I didn't make a mistake, and it wasn't that difficult, then the spot on the Baroness's bed isn't really blood. But if it isn't blood, what is it? And more importantly, why didn't Dr. Gebhardt notice anything? He was supposed to have examined everything. I'd say it's time to visit the medical center. It seems impossible that Dr. Gebhardt could have shot the Baroness. He was with me when the gunshot ran out, but he must have noticed that the Baroness was lying in a pool of fake blood. Maybe he's covering for someone. Let's find out. The sink looks like it's been cleaned recently. I can't say whether it was cleaned to comply with the hygiene regulations or whether there was another reason. It's probably for emergencies, in case a passenger falls down and can't walk anymore. Possibly due to rough seas, or maybe the captain's well-stocked bar. Interesting. A tape on a reel. The reel belongs to a much better player, like the one from the Baroness's cabin. I can't be certain that this is the reel that was missing from the Baroness's cabin, but it seems quite likely. Nothing. Strange. There! Very interesting. A shot is audible on the tape, and the reel comes from the Baroness's cabin. It's all coming into focus. I guess the trash bin is in here. Right. Paper towels, plastic packaging, cartons, and... hold on. What's this? A burst rubber glove. It's knotted, and there's a red liquid all over the inside that looks like blood. I bet good money that it's the same fake blood I found in the Baroness's cabin. Dr. Gebhardt will have trouble explaining how rubber gloves full of fake blood got into his trash bin. First, the fake blood he missed in the Baroness's cabin, and now this. It doesn't look good for you, Doctor. That's proof enough for me that the doctor is involved in this. I should report to Legrand. Time to pay Legrand a visit.
No. No, don't.
Won't you just leave it be? Let me go. Why are you doing this to me? You and the Baroness. Dr. Gebhardt, I don't know. Don't you understand what you are forcing me to do? You don't have to. It is almost over. You won't feel a thing. I am sorry you have to see all this. I should have used more chloroform. Pair of scissors. All ready. Enough of that, Mr. Zellner. Soon it will all be behind you. I am sorry you have to see all this. I have to distract him. Chloroform? I had it in my bag, just in case. You were supposed to be asleep. I am not a monster, you know? I have nothing against you. Nothing at all. But what can I do? You forced my hand. It's your fault. Yours alone. it. A pair of scissors. What have you... Miss... I am... Keep... Why? Why did the Baroness have to snoop around? Why did you have to snoop around? And that glove there. You want to plant evidence on me, yeah? I left no evidence. There is no trail. And yet you can't just leave me in peace, can you? Chloroform. Still hardly numb. Can't reach it. A pair of scissors. What are you doing? Just relax. I am so... I have to... Chloroform? I had it in my bag. A pair of scissors. Keep. And what next? Heart failure happens a lot at your age, especially given your background. I am still considering whether I should throw you overboard. Don't leave evidence. No evidence. But what if I'm seen? My plan was perfect. And then you ruined everything! Take it easy, Mr. Zellner. You will only hurt yourself. Shall we begin? It's almost over. I will... Are you okay?
Thanks.
A wet towel works miracles. I told you so.
Out with it then. What were you doing down there?
Inspector, at least let the constable recover his breath.
He almost killed himself.
Me? No. Dr. Gebhardt would have taken care of that for me. Where is he?
Gebhardt? He's vanished without a trace. We're searching the ship from top to bottom.
One at a time. Tell me, Zellner, what did you find out?
Dr. Gebhardt killed Baroness von Trebitz.
Impossible.
Do you have proof?
Besides the fact that he wanted to kill me?
But wasn't the doctor with you when the shot was fired?
The shot that we heard was a recording. The Baroness had a tape recorder and good speakers in her cabin. Good enough to make the noise audible on the upper deck.
Is that just your suspicion, or do you have proof?
There's an audio tape in the medical center. The reel belongs to the tape player in the Baroness's cabin. And there's a sibling reel in her cabin that belongs to the recorder in the medical center. He recorded it in the cargo hold. His tape recorder has a microphone, and I removed a bullet from one of the boxes down there.
And it came from the murder weapon?
All right.
Inspector Legrand!
Let's pretend you're onto something. The shot we heard was just a recording. What happened next?
We all ran to the Baroness's cabin. She lay comatose in a pool of blood. Dr. Gebhardt pushed past you so that you couldn't get too close to the Baroness. He examined her and pronounced her dead. There was no reason for us to doubt him. The shot, the blood, the Baroness lying there lifelessly. But she was only unconscious, knocked out by the chloral hydrate that the doctor had poured into her glass shortly before.
The doctor had a glass in his hand when you came in.
He wanted to remove the evidence, but you gave me the glass instead, Captain DeConti, and unintentionally knocked me out as well.
Nonsense. There was blood everywhere. And the Baroness is certainly dead enough, isn't she?
Then who did shoot her? And when?
She wasn't shot. She was poisoned.
And yet I saw the hole in her chest with my own eyes.
Aha!
She must have been shot.
Well, ingenious. Where was she shot?
Then it was the doctor, of course. He shot the sleeping Baroness in her cabin, barely 10 meters away from us.
What are you saying?
The doctor was alone in the cabin for a while. When the alarm went off, it was deafening. I couldn't even hear myself.
And I found a pillow with burn marks. Could have been used to muffle a gunshot.
And the blood?
The blood wasn't real. Dr. Gebhardt mixed up a liquid that looked like fresh blood to the casual observer, but the liquid remained red instead of becoming darker and browner from exposure to the air. That meant he had to clean the body and get rid of the bedding.
But the blood was already there when we first entered the cabin.
Dr. Gebhardt was in the Baroness's cabin before the murder. He hid a surgical glove full of the red liquid under her sheet. The Baroness, dead tired, fell onto her bed. The glove burst and the blood spread across the bed. I found the burst glove in the medical center.
But why did he do it? What was his motive?
Inspector?
The Baroness was blackmailing Dr. Gebhardt.
What's your reasoning?
Isn't blackmail always a good motive?
It's worthless without proof.
I can only speculate. The Baroness spent the day rummaging through her old family photos.
No, no, no.
Do you have anything to contribute, Constable?
Confession, sir. Dr. Gebhardt was the Raven. It's all here. He admits to everything.
What does it say?
It says, "Do you still remember, my dear Nico? The streets were wet with rain, and the scent of roasted barley and fermenting yeast wafted over to us from the brewery. A dog barked until your shot struck down the innocent one. After that silence, not a single sound except for my soft steps fading on the wet cobblestone street. They made a hero of you, and I, at last, found peace. At least until the urge returned. Some of us are not made for retirement, my friend. I thought they would assign this case to you, and that thought pleased me. We'd finally find out who was truly the better man. And it pains me now to have to admit that you and your little gumshoe got the better of me. You drove me into a corner, forced me to make mistakes. I congratulate you on your triumph, but no one will confine the Raven to a cage. There is but one way out, and that is by my own hand. Farewell, Raven Hunter R. Inspector Legrand!
Inspector?
I was right. I told them all, over and over again. But no one would listen.
You think that Dr. Gebhardt was really the Raven?
The things Gebhardt describes in his letter aren't part of any police report. Only someone who was there would know them.
Couldn't there have been others involved? One of the police, for instance. What if one of them changed sides?
Why is it so hard for you to accept the simple truth? There was never a new Raven. There was only ever the old one. And that was Dr. Gebhardt.
The modus operandi doesn't match. The Raven was not a killer.
Legends are rarely what they seem to be, Constable Zellner.
Then who was the man who was killed back then?
William Jackson, a petty thief, committed some burglaries together with his brother. Talented, but not world-class.
And they thought he was the Raven.
Some people thought it was part of his disguise. If you're a debonair master thief, what better disguise than pretending to be a common crook? From time to time you let them catch you pulling small jobs, and no one ever imagines you're capable of a major heist.
But you didn't believe it.
I had my doubts. But everyone congratulated me, and those doubts were pushed aside. It was like being caught in a storm. But eventually the storm passed, and my doubts were still there.
But not this time? No doubts telling you that Gebhardt isn't our man?
It must be him.
What about the handwriting, the wording? Does the farewell letter match the Raven's other letters?
Yes, it's his handwriting, his words. I've read all the Raven's letters, all of them, over and over again.
I never thought it was possible. A resurrected Raven.
The Raven was never dead. I shot the wrong man.
But that man had the stolen goods, didn't he? So he must have been in league with the Raven. One could hardly call him innocent. Where do we go from here?
We deliver the eye and then I'll contact Paris. A task force will compare all of Gebhardt's known residences with the Raven's activity.
And if there are any inconsistencies?
You're welcome to keep an eye on the safe if you can't let it go. The ship will remain in Cairo for 1 day. That's all the time you'll have to catch your own Raven. I already have mine.
Ah, you're one of Legrand's men, aren't you?
My name is Anton Jakob Zellner.
You've come just in time. Grace, my dachshund, is missing.
There may be more important matters for me to attend to, Mr.
Director Abbas Mokhtar. And Grace isn't just a common dog. She's a purebred German dachshund, a champion.
So, The exhibition will still open tonight.
But of course, everything has been arranged. The final preparations are almost complete.
But one of the two exhibits won't be there.
A terrible loss, a tragedy. That irreplaceable Egyptian cultural treasure has been stolen for the second time.
The second time?
What? Did you really believe that the Eye of the Sphinx was found lying on the banks of the Thames?
Inspector Legrand, Professor Lucien, and Constable Oliver are overseeing the transportation of the safe. They should be here at any moment. I'll have a look around in the meantime.
Do you think that's necessary? The Raven is dead, after all.
If you mean Dr. Gebhardt, his body was never recovered. Nor the stolen Eye of the Sphinx, for that matter.
It does us a great honor that the Inspector is concerned about us. But we have everything under control.
Legrand isn't as concerned as he should be. But I am. Is the museum closed?
Yes. Only carefully selected guests may enter the museum during preparations for the gala. And of course, you're one of them, Mr. Constable.
What can you tell me about the museum's security system?
One of the best on the market. And the second eye will still be exhibited in our special treasure chamber, which is extra secure.
Treasure chamber?
See for yourself, to the right of the entrance. The eye is as safe as the British Crown jewels.
I think I'll have a look around the museum.
Please do. There's a lot to see. And you let me know if you see Grace, won't you? I hope we find her before the great inspector arrives. Isn't it fantastic how he solved the murder on the ship?
Legrand?
Of course. It's in all the newspapers. The murder of the wealthy Baroness von Trebitz, and how the great Inspector Legrand identified the murderer in just one day. It's the stuff legends are made of. You should count yourself lucky to have the chance to learn from him.
What exactly do the newspapers say?
Everything. It's fantastic. Someone on board must have informed the press immediately. Of course, it's a great advertising for us. The reporters will queue up tonight.
And it was reported that Legrand found the murderer.
Of course! Who else?
Well, I wasn't exactly uninvolved.
Of course. Legrand surely has assistants, but honor to he who deserves to be honored, right?
Well then.
Be seeing you, Constable. Grace! Here, Gracie. My sweetheart. Where are you?
Oh, Mr. Inch.
Mr. Inch. There you are. I am so sorry. Baroness von Trebitz was a good-hearted woman. She did so much for the museum.
As you say, sir.
And you? Are you leaving so soon?
I'd like to go back to my hotel. These last days have been such a strain.
First, you sneak into the museum without greeting me, and then you want to leave just as quickly?
I didn't want to disturb you, and we'll have time enough tonight.
Yes, you simply must come tonight. I wanted to present Baroness von Trebitz with a medal. Now you'll have to accept it.
Of course, if you insist, sir.
The Baroness paid for all this. Without her, there wouldn't have been an exhibition or a gala.
She was very generous.
Yes, she was.
If you'll excuse me now. Constable Zellner, I want to thank you again for all you've done. You saved me, you could say.
My pleasure. See you tonight.